Genesis 28. And Isaac called Jacob, and blessed him, and charged him, and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padioram, to the house of the Bethel, thy mother, father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother, and God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a company of peoples, and give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit in the land of thy sojourning, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padan Aram unto Laban son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Padan Aram, to take him a wife from thence. And that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. And Esau went unto Ismael, and took beside the wives that he had Malatha, the daughter of Ismael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebiotah, to his wife, to be his wife. And Jacob went out to Beersheba, and went towards Haran. And he lighted up a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took one of the stones of the place, and put it under his head, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascended and descended on it. And behold, Jehovah stood above it, and said, I am Jehovah, the God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou layest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth. And thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee whithersoever thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awakened of his sleep, and he said, Surely Jehovah is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put under his head, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I'll go, and will give me bread to eat, and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, and Jehovah will be my God, then this stone which I have set up for pillars shall be God's house. And of all that shall give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. Genesis 28 is the turning point where the covenant stops being Abraham and Isaac's story and becomes Jacob's direct encounter with God. And the shock is this: God meets Jacob not when Jacob is noble, but when Jacob is running for his life, alone, exposed, sleeping on a rock. That is grace. Isaac's deliberate blessings, the covenant is now officially consciously placed on Jacob. Unlike Genesis 27, where Isaac was blind and resisting, here Isaac blessed Jacob knowingly and explicit. No Canaanite wife, covenant alignment matters. Go to Padaram, Rebekah's kin, and the key phrase, give thee the blessings of Abraham. This is the formal transfer of Abrahamic covenant package: fruitfulness, company of peoples, land inheritance, promised seed and future. Also notice the name, God Almighty. That's the covenant name used in Genesis for God's power to create life where there is barrenness, impossibility, and weakness. It fits Jacob's situation. He has no power, no safety, no future secured unless God secures it. What God is saying? My covenant is not an accident or a trick. I formally setting my promise on you, even with all your mess. Esau was almost obedient. You can imitate the outside while missing the heart. Esau sees Canaanite wives, grieves his father, so he adds a wife from Ismail's line. It looks like a course correction, but it's still reactive, not repentive. He is trying to win approval without embracing the covenant path, faith, surrender, and alignment. Genesis shows a subtle truth. People can make religious-looking moves and still be unchanged inside. What God is saying, external adjustments is not the same as covenant transformation. You can chase approval while still missing my promise. The wilderness night, Jacob is reduced to nothing, so God can become everything. Genesis 28, verse 10 through 11. Jacob leaves Beersheba, heads towards Haran. He sleeps in a certain place using a stone for a pillow. This is Jacob's spiritual status made physical. No home, no protection, no certainty, no altar yet, no established relationship yet. And that's exactly where God shows up. What God is saying is, I meet people at the end of themselves. I am not confirmed to sanctuaries or to your clean moments. The ladder stairways heaven is not far. God is actively connecting realms. He sees a ladder better, a stairway slash ramp with angels ascending and descending. The meaning isn't Jacob climbs to God. It's the opposite. God has established a connection between heaven and earth, and his messengers are already moving. God is not managing access. Jacob is not managing access. God is. This is the revelation of providence. Even when Jacob thinks he's alone, the traffic of heaven is active over his life. What God is saying, you are not abandoned. My unseen administration is already at work over your roads. God's speech, promise plus presence plus protections plus return. Genesis 28, verse 13 through 15. God repents the Abrahamic covenant. Land to thee will I give it. Seed as the dust spread abroad. Mission in thee all families be blessed. Then the personal heart of the chapter. I am with thee, will keep thee, will bring thee again. I will not leave thee. This is covenant theology distilled. The promise isn't just territory and descentals. It's God himself with this person. And no, Jacob hasn't apologized yet. God speaks first, that grace initiating relationship. What God is saying, my covenant is not just a future plan, it's my presence with you. I don't wait for you to deserve me before I commit to you, to keep you. Jacob's awakening the holiness of ordinary grounds. Genesis 28, verse 16 through 17. Jacob says, surely Jehovah is in this place, and I knew it not. This is one of the Bible's great spiritual awakening. God was present in a place Jacob thought was spiritually nothing. Then, how dreadful is this place? Dreadful here means all filled, weight, holy, fear in the sense of reverence. Jacob realized his encounter the living God. He calls it the house of God, the gate of heavens, not because heaven is trapped there, but because God reveals himself there. The gate is where access is granted, and God shows Jacob that access is God's gift. What God is saying, I can turn your wilderness into my meeting place. Holiness can interrupt your ordinary life. The pillar and oil. Jacob marks the moment worship begins. Genesis 28, verse 18 through 19. Jacob sets up the stone as a pillar and anoints. This is the beginning of Jacob's worship's life. He names the place Bethel. Important. Jacob is learning to locate his story inside God's story. He is building memory for faith. This happens. God spoke. I must not forget. What God is saying, when I reveal myself, respond by remembering. Build makers that keep you from spiritual amnesia. Jacob vows, real moments, but still conditional faith. Genesis 28, verse 20 through 22. Jacob vows, if God will be with me, keep me, give me bread, raiment, and come again in peace, then Jehovah will be my God. This is honest but immature. It's a bargaining tone. If you do X, then I'll do Y. Yet here something profound happens. Jacob is beginning to personalize the covenant. Jehovah will be my God. He promised worship, God's house language. He promised giving. I will surely give the 10th. So the chapter doesn't present Jacob as instantly perfect. It shows a conversing emotion. God promises unconditional. Genesis 28 verse 15. But Jacob's heart is learning to trust that unconditional promise. Well, God is saying, I will start with you where you actually are. Your faith may begin as if, but I will patiently grow it into surely. The main message of Genesis 28 in one sentence: God takes the covenant from being inherited tradition to being personal encounter. He meets Jacob in exile by sheer grace, reveals an active heaven earth connection, repeats the Abrahamic promise, and anchors it with the deepest gift: I am with thee. Then begins transforming Jacob from a grasping man into a worshiper who marks holy grounds and slowly learns trust. Genesis 28.